Hello and welcome back to another Project Diablo 2 video. I am Kordesh, and today let's talk about how you should prepare for the upcoming season. Now, in my How to Get Rich video, I talked a lot about planning and execution. So to prep for a new league, the important thing that we're going to focus on heavily is the planning portion. I'm going to teach you on how you should plan for the upcoming season. So the first thing with a plan is you need to have a goal. Having a goal is important because without one, you will never reach it. If you do not have a goal, that's fine. I'm here to help you figure that out. If you are a newer player, it is totally fine if your goal is to explore the game, get to level 30, get to level 70, beat hell for the first time, and kill Baal. That's all fine and obtainable goals for a new player. If you are an experienced player, you might have other goals. You might want to innovate on a new build. You might want to try and kill Rathma for the first time. There are lots and lots of different goals that you can have as a player. I'll talk a little bit about my goals. And so my goal for this league is I would like to be able to farm up runes and items and kind of perfect a build that is a build that has a high amount of synergy with the players, my two friends that I play with. And they play physical damage builds, so I'm trying to look for a character and a build that's going to work really well solo, and when I group up with them, it's going to just provide a lot of utility and damage and whatever, and we're going to have a lot of fun just playing together. So that's my abstract goal. So one last thing about your goal is you're going to have to figure out a class and a spec to achieve this goal. So if I want to play a synergistic build with my friends, a sorceress that only does fire damage might not have any synergy with a boson. So I need to look for things like a Warcry barbarian, or maybe a necromancer that provides curses, or a paladin that provides auras. Those are things that I'm going to be looking into to achieve my goal. So let's start at the start. We have our class, we have our spec. We need to figure out how we are going to level this character to achieve our goal. So first up, do you plan on leveling solo, or are you going to try and get a fully organized group before the season launches? If you are a newer player, feel free to level solo. You'll probably enjoy the game going at your own pace. But if you are a Diablo 2 veteran, I highly recommend going to the Project Diablo 2 Discord. Look in the reset group channels there and post your availability and look for other players to play with. Here is an example. So as you can see, there are two, the softcore and the hardcore reset groups. Just go in there. You can easily make a post just like this. And yeah, you can look at other people. You can message them directly. I highly, highly recommend this. You're going to have a lot more fun playing the game with other players, especially on launch. It's really a magical time to play Diablo 2 or any, Project Diablo 2. So next up, let's talk about a leveling build. So if you need to have a leveling build plan. So if you are following a leveling build specifically, I would recommend doing that if you are a new player. So look up exactly, on level 1, I'm putting 1 point in Smite. Level 2, you're putting your point here, or you're saving it. Level 3, etc., etc. Find a leveling build if you're a new player and follow it to the T. There's going to be enough information for you as a new player that you will have to, decipher and figure out, such as like, is this item good for me? Is this item bad? Where do I go? What quest is this? Trying to figure out all of that stuff while making your own build, you're probably going to struggle a little bit. So I would focus more on the actual gameplay and don't worry about the build if you're new. However, if you are a veteran, still you should plan out your build. So if you know that, hey, I'm going to go a throw barb, go into like a character builder and figure out like, okay, at this level I should probably do this. I need to bank a point here and save up so I can put a point in battle orders and this at the same time, or like whatever. So just go through and plan it out regardless of your skill level. It's going to help you a lot, and it'll probably save you a respec. Speaking of respecs, I think that you should only respec once while leveling. I think that 2 respecs for endgame is much, much better. 1 to like transition from like your janky leveling gear and you're breaking into in-game farming to your actual farming build. And then that very last respec I normally spend on like completely min-maxing that in-game build. Obviously, you can farm up a token of absolution, which will allow you a free respec, but you have to farm for that token specifically. So that would be my recommendation on respecking. Next up, let's talk about speed. So if you are playing to reach the end game through grouping up and speeding through it, or taking your time, it's fine however you want to do it. Whatever pace you want to go is totally okay. I do have a recommendation. If you're playing solo, it doesn't really matter, but if you want to play slowly, learn the game, and enjoy it with other players, the best way to do this is look for games that have the term walk in them. So, for example, if you want to do Act 2 and you want to play it normally, you could type like Act 2 walk and create that game, or like walking Act 2. Or you can look for games with that terminology in it, and that means that people are playing the game legitimately instead of using a teleport sorceress to just rush through the game. So I would definitely recommend doing that. Next up, if you're trying to do bail runs over and over, I would highly recommend just going to like the Project Diablo 2 Discord and looking for groups on there, because a lot of the time, the way that the games are generated, you might be seeing old bail games that bail has already been killed. The game is done. You're joining old games, and you might spend 10, 15 minutes just joining random old games, where instead, if you just go to the group, they might say like, hey, this is the game name, we're looking for more people, and you can get into a bail group specifically on there that might be private, so you're not going to lose your spot, and then you're going to run for 30, 45 minutes, get all the levels you need, and then you can move on. So that might save you some time and make you have a easier time while leveling. The next thing that I'm going to be talking about is leveling items. Specifically, do you need to farm for specific items while you're leveling? So in normal Diablo 2, stealth is the rune word that everybody makes. You go to the normal countess, you farm it, you get your 2 runes, you find a 2-socket chest piece, and you're off to the races. Now in PD2, it's not as necessary, but it's still really important to know which rune words that you want to craft while leveling, or which target farms that you might seek out and go for. And you need to plan for it and, plan accordingly. If you're doing this in a group, are you doing split countess runs? Are you doing it like, 2-man parties? A lot of this stuff needs to be discussed ahead of time so you don't waste time during the actual game. So, yeah, anyways, the last point that I have on here is just hell. And you might be wondering, like, what does that mean? No, hell is hard. You need to have a specific leveling plan once you hit hell and how you can handle it. So the first thing is, are you going to try and beat hell? Do you have a plan to beat all of it, like with a group? Are you going to try and skip the content and rush to the end and kill Bale so you can do cow runs? Are you going to just farm in Nightmare for a little while, just farm cows and Mephisto on Nightmare? You need to have a plan on how you are handling hell and the immunities and all of the difficulties that come along with the final difficulty. So that brings me on to my next point, which is farming. So once you are done with the leveling or reach, early hell or late Nightmare, you're going to need to know how to farm. And you're going to need a class and a spec that can farm with minimal gear. So you're going to need to know where to go and farm on no gear, minimal gear, a decent bit of gear, and then fully geared. So I'm going to just use myself as an example because I think that might reiterate the point. So currently my plan is to play a Warcry Barbarian. I'm not sure if I'm going to stick with that, but for this example, it'll be good. Now, I know that with no gear, I'm probably going to try and farm in Nightmare and get 2 Spirit Swords. And the reason for that is just because I like the amount of cast rate, the plus to skills is nice. Other than that, I'm hoping to find a plus to Barbarian skills helmet and amulet, whether that be to Warcries or the actual damage Warcry directly. So I'm going to be looking to get about plus 5 to skills and a decent bit of faster cast rate. Once I finish doing that, I might transition to farming pits, if I have like plus 3 or plus 4 to skills. And then once I have about plus 5 with decent resistances, I'm going to go to Travancore. It's going to be challenging, but I've done some testing and I'm pretty sure I can farm Travancore there. And as I'm doing that, I'm just going to farm it. I'm going to, find item on the corpses of the council members, and hopefully that'll allow me to find some good items. And from there, I can upgrade my gear and move on to Chaos Sanctuary. And then once I upgrade my gear further with, a bunch of Grand Charms or Heart of the Oak, things of that nature, I'm going to begin moving into maps. So it's very important that you need to know where to farm and how you want to approach farming once you finish with leveling. And if you have more questions about that, I'm going to be posting videos on each class and spec on what you should play for a season start character. And the reason for that is it's going to go into characters that have very smooth and easy leveling experiences and easy farming experiences. So those videos will be coming out soon, but that's pretty much it for this one. I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you next time.